Have you ever asked an AI to light something for you and what you got back was just completely useless? But then you see someone else get a brilliant, ready-to-use response. I promise you, that difference isn't just blind luck, it's actually a highly learnable skill. Welcome to NextGen AI Tech. I'm Elah. And in today's explainer, we're going to unlock what is arguably the single most valuable tech skill you can learn right now, prompt engineering. We're going to take those frustrating, generic interactions and turn them into precise, powerful results just by learning how to actually talk to the AI. To see what I mean, just listen to this difference. A lot of people will simply type in, write an email to a client. And honestly, the result is exactly what you'd expect. A generic, kind of boring wall of text. But what if you typed, act as a sales rep, write a 3-sentence follow-up email to a client who missed a meeting? Bam! The output is sharp, it's professional, and it's literally ready to hit send. See, mastering this isn't about being a coder, it's just about knowing how to give the right instructions. So why do so many of our prompts fail right out of the gate? Well, we kind of have to remember the golden rule here. AI is not a mind reader. It doesn't know your business, it doesn't know your audience, and it definitely doesn't know what's going on in your head. When we toss it a vague or ambiguous prompt, we're basically forcing the model to guess our intent. And because of how these large language models actually work, they're just predicting probabilistic patterns. Guessing almost always leads to these really scattered, generic, and totally unfocused results. Okay, so how do we fix this? Enter the CRAFT framework. C-R-A-F-T. This is a brilliant, super memorable checklist, and you can really think of it as your fail-proof recipe for the perfect prompt. Instead of just throwing a random question at the wall and hoping it sticks, CRAFT systematically structures your request. It tells the AI exactly what parameters to operate within, so there's absolutely no guessing involved. Let's break it down. Starting with the C, which stands for context. Now, a standard base prompt might just be write about productivity, which is very weak, right? But watch what happens when we add context. I am a remote worker struggling with focus. Write about productivity. Instantly, you've grounded the AI in your specific reality. You're giving it the background information it desperately needs so it can stop generalizing and start targeting its knowledge to your actual situation. Next up is R for role. When you assign an expert persona, you instantly upgrade the entire output. So we add act as a productivity coach for remote workers. Why does that simple sentence matter so much? Because giving the AI a role completely shifts its vocabulary, its tone, and its analytical depth. You're essentially telling the model, hey, stop acting like a generic assistant and start looking at this problem through the lens of a highly specialized expert. Now for the A, which is action, this is crucial. Instead of a vague request like write about productivity, we replace it with a concrete task. We add, write a 600-word blog post explaining the Pomodoro technique. You really need to state exactly what you wanted to do using specific verbs, like analyze, compare, summarize, or create. This gives the model a definitive, clear target to hit, rather than letting it just ramble on about a topic. Moving on to F for format. And honestly, this is probably the most neglected step. We almost always skip this. By adding something like structure it with bullet points and an actionable takeaway at the end, we are defining the exact look of the deliverable. If you don't dictate the structure, the AI is probably just going to spit out a useless, giant block of text. Whether you want a table, a numbered list, or a snippet of code, telling it exactly how to format the data is going to save you massive amounts of editing time. And finally, T for tone. We finish our prompts by adding, use a conversational but authoritative tone. Avoid corporate jargon. Notice that little negative constraint there? Telling it what not to do is just as important. When you assemble all 5 pieces of this puzzle, you are practically guaranteeing a beautifully calibrated response on the very first try. You've taken it from a blind guess to a precise professional brief. Let's pause right here for a quick second. Think about the very last prompt you wrote. Maybe it was earlier today or yesterday. Be totally honest with yourself. Which of these 5 craft elements did you leave out? Was it the format? Did you totally forget to give it context? Drop down into the comments right now and let me know which element you usually skip over. Because honestly, recognizing your own blind spots is the absolute fastest way to get better at this. All right, building on that foundation, I want to share a couple of advanced, total game-changing techniques to keep in your back pocket. The first one is called chain of thought prompting. This is a highly effective little trick where you explicitly instruct the AI to think step by step. What this does is force a sequence of logical reasoning before it ever gives you the final answer. It is absolutely incredible for tackling complex, multi-step problems where you don't just want a quick answer, you actually want to see the work. So if we just say, solve this data problem, the AI might skip steps, panic, and hallucinate a totally wrong answer. But by simply adding, think step by step and outline your reasoning before answering, we force the model to literally create a chain of reasoning. Triggering this step-by-step logic slows the AI down in a good way, dramatically preventing it from jumping to a false conclusion. Our second game changer is something called few-shot prompting. Look, sometimes describing what you want is way harder than just showing it, right? Few-shot prompting just means providing the AI with a clear, concrete example of the desired output right there inside your prompt. Think of it like acting as a mentor to the AI. Showing it a successful pattern to mimic is always going to be more powerful than just reciting a bunch of abstract theory. For example, if we say, write a product description in this exact style, and then you literally paste in a perfect example that you've used before, that single example acts as an unbreakable guardrail. The model picks up on the rhythm, the vocabulary, and the structure instantly. It saves you from having to write a massive, convoluted paragraph just trying to explain your brand's unique voice. Okay, before we wrap up this explainer, let's run through a really rapid checklist of frequent beginner pitfalls you need to avoid. First up, assuming the AI remembers past conversations. It usually doesn't. You have to provide context every single time. Second, asking multiple totally unrelated questions in a single prompt. This just dilutes the AI's attention. Keep it to one major task per prompt. And finally, overcomplicating your instructions. Don't treat AI like a human coworker who needs a long-winded backstory. Just be precise, be clear, and cut the fluff. I really want to leave you with this empowering final thought. You don't need a better AI. You just need a better prompt. The tools we have access to today are incredibly powerful, and frameworks like Craft, Chain of Thought, and Few-Shot Prompting, these are universal skills. They transfer across every single AI tool out there. Whether you're using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you name it. Master the prompt, and you master the technology. Thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer. I really hope you feel ready to put these frameworks into practice right away. So, my final question for you is, now that you have the key, what kind of intelligence are you going to unlock with your very next prompt? If you found this breakdown helpful, please go ahead and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe to NextGen AI Tech for more practical AI skills, deep dives, and tech breakdowns. I'm Elah, keep experimenting, and I'll see you in the next one.